Join in this lovely winter centering. Good morning, everyone. Happy Solstice. Welcome to worship with the UUs of Charlottesville, Virginia. It is so good to see your faces. Old friends and new, family and neighbor, and some of you coming in from a distance. If you haven't already done so, we encourage you to put your display on so we can see your faces. We are glad to welcome you into the Zoom sanctuary, a place of celebration and solace, connection and compassion for all who gather now. My name is Greg Townsend, and I am honored to serve as a lay worship weaver this morning, along with our tech people, Sean Scally and Ellie Ransom, who are working behind the scenes for us. We are so grateful to video editors Ellie Ransom and Lucy Gilbert for their work on the service today. You will hear messages from Reverends Leah and Linda, as well as from Dawn Dirks. And I now invite board member Pam McIntyre to greet us all.
Good morning, everyone. I'm grateful for the chance to be on your board of trustees and to offer my welcome to all who are joining us for the worship this morning. I've been a member of this congregation for 28 years, and I have most loved being with the people who are up to good things in the world. I have found friends and community beyond measure. When I feel discouraged out in the world, I find solace in this congregation. I'd be happy to talk to anyone after the service.
Thank you so much, Pam. Please join now in singing along with our opening solstice songs about the sun and the light we share.
Sunshine, my only sunshine, you make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Good morning. We're the Dirks family. I'm Dawn Dirks.
And I'm Rowan Eckhart.
I've been coming to this congregation for 20 years.
I've been here my entire life.
And what we love most about being part of this community is the wonderful people and the amazing connections that we have built and the relationships that we have.
Especially in RE.
We light our chalice this morning, the symbol of our UU faith.
We gather this hour as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs.
We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together, and especially today we light it to celebrate the return of the light with the winter solstice.
We light this chalice to celebrate Unitarian Universalism. This is the Church of the Open Minds. This is the Church of the Helping Hands. This is the Church of the Loving Hearts.
Our congregation's chalice has been lit and will have its own screen throughout the service. If you have a chalice in your home, please light it now.
Rise up, O flame, by thy light glowing, show to us beauty, vision, and joy. Rise up, O flame, by thy light glowing, show to us beauty, vision, and joy.
The winter solstice in the Northern Hemisphere occurs around the 21st of December. At this time, every point in the Arctic Circle is in total, and the Northern Hemisphere experiences its shortest day. This occurs because the Earth's axis tilts at an angle. When the Northern Hemisphere tilts away from the sun, the incoming solar radiation is spread out over a large surface area. With less heat available, temperatures drop and winter falls. You might be surprised to know that the Earth is closest to the sun during the winter. The Earth takes an elliptical orbit around the sun and reaches its closest point in January. Its farthest point in the summer. The Earth is actually colder when it is closer to the sun.
Space with me this morning. We have our beautiful altar created by our contemplative worship team, and they have made it just such a lovely winter solstice altar for us this morning. The winter solstice is a very special time for me, for many of us, and I'm aware of it feeling special now more than ever. As a child, many of you know I grew up in a Unitarian Universalist home and congregation, and those people and my family nurtured me so well in my UU faith. And we celebrated Christmas, but also the winter solstice. And I remember decorations both at church and at home that reflected those traditions and so many others. There were special angel decorations on the wall in the sanctuary. We had a Christmas tree, and at home we had both a Christmas tree and a solstice tree. The solstice tree was smaller, and usually my mom was the one who put a lot of attention and energy into decorating it. And it had beautiful little bird ornaments and other nature symbols. And I like to do the same thing in my own home. We have a Christmas tree, but we also have a solstice tree. It's a ficus that we usually decorate with lights and ornaments. So I always struggle a little bit at both the winter solstice and the summer solstice. They are bittersweet days to me. And that has to do with how in the summer we're saying goodbye to the warmth and the light. And in the winter, while we're welcoming and embracing and joyful for the light, we're also about to enter into the coldest and darkest time of winter, even though the light is returning. It's a little bit of both a gift and a paradox. But what I like to hold on to in the winter solstice is the reminder of rest, of the reminder to embrace the dark, of the reminder to make space for what will grow in the spring and with the return of the light. And I can do that because knowing that the light is returning gives me strength. It gives me faith that light will come again, so it's okay to rest in the darkness. I like to celebrate the winter solstice. Well, actually, I like to celebrate the winter and the summer solstice with friends and with family. In the winter, I especially like to have fire and candlelight. And of course, ritual for me always is even more special when it involves food. For the winter solstice, one of the things that I like to do is actually have a Yule log. And so I brought my Yule log in to share with you this morning. It's here on the altar, and I will light it at home with my family later. And I also like to throw things into the fire, whether it be a little snip of a pine bough or snips of paper that I've written things on that I want to let go of, to release, so that I can make room for what wants to come, what wants to grow. And as far as the food part of winter solstice, I love to have sun cakes and ale, which in my house translates into cookies and warm spiced cider. That to me is an embodiment of the winter solstice and some of the joys that it offers. But this year, I am so excited. I may be the most excited that I've been for solstice in, since I can remember. And that is because I want to celebrate the solstice with you. And I'd like you to come join me tonight for our special drive-by between 5:30 and 7. We're going to transform the Edgewood Lane Drive outside of the church, and it's going to be so magical. Yesterday, we created these bags that we have one for each of you, and we want you to come and get them because they're full of goodies appropriate for all ages. They've got treats, they've got treasures, and they've got a completely scripted solstice ritual for you to do at home with everything that you need for that ritual in this bag. So we don't want to waste a single bag that we created. We made 60 of them, and it would fill my heart if all 60 of them disappear tonight because you drive by and pick up your solstice kit as part of our celebration together. And if you made a lantern, we want to see it. So bring your lantern and show it to us and shine your light as you drive by this evening. One of the special things we'll have at our drive-by ritual is a fireball that Dawn Dirks has loaned to us for tonight. So I know you'll want to come by and see that. It's going to be part of the magic of this special day. So I thank you for helping me celebrate the winter solstice. And now I invite Dawn Dirks to share with us how she and her family celebrate the solstice.
Good morning. The sun is reborn. This is the joy and exuberance of the winter solstice, the end of the darkest time of the year, and the promise of the eventual return of light, warmth, and growth. For me personally, however, the winter solstice is a time of quiet, of peace, and of introspection, a time to dive deep into the darkness. On the winter solstice, it feels deeply true for each of us to meditate on the experiences of the last year, the triumphs and the turmoil, the delights and the disappointments, and to think about the seeds that we have planted, or maybe those seeds that we know are needed, but that we are hesitant to plant for the coming year. Seeds of joy, of new beginnings, of change and growth. Sometimes these changes feel exciting and exuberant, but more often than not, change can be difficult, and it often feels painful to will into existence essential transformations. These ideas all frame my thoughts and focus as we approach the winter solstice. I have been intentional about my practice marking the winter solstice for close to 30 years. My focus begins on the night preceding the solar rebirth, on Solstice Eve. Depending on the actual timing of the solstice, this may be the longest night of the year. Through the ages and stages of my life, as I have matured, given birth to children, and relocated, the ways that I honor the dark on this special night have also changed. These days, I like to savor a cup of warm, spiced wine as I meditate beside my cozy gas fireplace. In past years, I celebrated around an outdoor fire, sometimes alone, sometimes with dearest friends, sometimes with music and drumming and dancing around the bonfire, and sometimes with blissful silence, save the crackling of the burning wood. Once children came into my picture, our Solstice Eve celebrations shifted to sharing sacred foods and beverages associated with the winter solstice as we gathered together around the fireplace. I often would read stories about the dark and the return of the light, about the Oak King and the Holly King, or about any number of myths and archetypes associated with this sacred time. My winter solstice eve always, however, ends with me alone in the quiet and solitude by the fire, contemplating the direction of my life, the meaning and blessings of the dark, the cycles and changes of the seasons of the year, of a life, and the ever-present promise of the return once more to the light. And as some of you know, on the morning of the winter solstice, if the weather agrees with our plans, I wake my family at 4 a.m. I make them special spiced cocoa, which has changed to spiced mocha as my children have grown. And we drive to the highest point we are able to reach, or in years where we have been on the coast, we go to the easternmost place on Mother Mare, the blessed ocean. On some occasions, we have risen to solid cloud cover or snow falling, but we go out anyway. The only thing that deters us is a drenching rain or ice. We arrive at our designated vantage point well before dawn, usually accompanied by much grumbling from Eric and Rowan in previous years, and more recently, from Rowan alone. After the appropriate amount of grumbling has passed, we settle in and we wait. If we have been blessed with a clear day, the sky slowly turns from complete darkness to purple, then mauve, then brilliant red, and finally, the sun peeks out above the horizon in a bright explosion of light. It is the promise of the end of the darkness. It is the jubilant, righteous rebirth. We always end our time on the solstice morning with a chant from the book Circle Round, Raising Children in Goddess Traditions by Starhawk, Diane Baker, and Anne Hill. The sun is born again today. We greet the light's first morning ray. We sing and celebrate the light. The sun's born in the longest night. Now, please enjoy some of my photographs of past winter solstice sunrises. The music accompanying the photographs is called Eastern Sun by Ayla Nereo.
Eastern sun, melt the cold from my bones, cut and rise. Take the darkness from my eyes, breathing in, pulling life into my lungs. As a child, I am born again. Eastern sun, melt the cold from my bones, cut and rise. Take the darkness from my eyes, breathing in, pulling life into my lungs. As a child, I am born again. Eastern sun, melt the cold from my bones, cut and rise. Take the darkness from my eyes, breathing in, pulling life into my lungs. As a child, I am born again. Eastern sun, melt the cold from my bones, cut and rise. Take the darkness from my eyes, breathing in, pulling life into my lungs. As a child, I am born again. Eastern sun, melt the cold from my bones, cut and rise. Take the darkness from my eyes, breathing in, pulling life into my lungs. As a child, I am born again.
Oh, so beautiful, Dawn. Thank you for those lovely pictures. And thank you for the idea that you can greet the sun on the morning after the longest night. I've never wanted to do that. I've never woken up early enough to do that. You maybe have inspired me. You know, solstice comes from the word for sun, and it's just a celebration of how important the sun is to our lives. And I usually observe the solstice the night it is setting before the longest night. And I like to light a big bonfire. And I like to invite people to join me with noisemakers, drums, musical instruments. Part of my ritual is to circle the fire 3 times with everybody chanting to a drum beat. We turn the wheel to call the sun. We turn the wheel to call the sun. And we sing songs about how much we love the sun, like "You Are My Sunshine" and "This Little Light." We cry out for the sun, and we make as much noise as we can. And in the darkness, we write down the things about the last year that were painful to us, and we throw them into the fire to send smoke into the sky as sacrifice, praying that the universe can absorb the sorrows, and that when the sun comes tomorrow, we'll have a fresh start, and we'll be released from the pain of the old year. this solstice, I'll have a lot to throw into that fire tonight. And so for me, while the solstice is a time to call for the sun return, it's also a time to honor the dark, the long dark night, which can help us heal, which can deliver us from fear.
I invite you now to join me in a time of prayer and meditation. As we join our hearts and our minds together in this time of spoken, silent, sung, and shared worship, we acknowledge that it is a precious time and that all precious times want preparation. So I invite you to settle yourself into your body in whatever way feels right to you in this moment. You might take a cleansing breath and hold it until you notice your need to breathe out. And let yourself relax. You are invited to close your eyes if you desire, knowing that vision is the single most energy extensive activity of our brains. Today is the winter solstice, a time when those who are very attentive to the skies note that the sun, which has relentlessly moved southward on the horizon since last June, seems to pause on its journey before beginning to climb northwards to center again. Solstice is a time of pause. So pause, breathe, relax, rest, feel peace. Spirit of winter rest, help us to enjoy your peace in this quiet peace and in this quiet place. Remind us to pause during this season. Grant us awareness and keep our gratitude fresh each day. May the songs in our heart be blessings and insights to us and to others, and may compassion always shine forth from the depths of our hearts. Blessed be, and amen.
Darkness soothe my weary eyes, that I may see more clearly. When my heart with sorrow cries, comfort and caress me. And when my soul may hear a voice, a still small voice of love eternal, darkness when
Many years ago, when I was a young woman, I started attending a Unitarian Universalist church that had the tradition of solstice bonfires on their church grounds, set high on a hill over the Potomac River. I loved that my children grew up hearing of the old Celtic pagan traditions from our resident 80-year-old druid, and that the children helped with the fire tending and singing and chanting with so many lovely people in our congregation. One year, as the fire was going out and people were heading home, I looked at the sky overhead with all the stars twinkling. And I looked down at the streets below with the houses twinkling with Christmas lights. And I felt a powerful connection between the solstice sky and the people preparing for the Christmas holiday to come. I also felt the powerful connection between the solstice fire and the faith that was growing inside of me, a faith in hope and humanity that I had lost in my teenage years due to tragedy and betrayal. I realized that lighting a fire on a long, cold night of the solstice was a statement of faith. It was a statement that we can, especially with friends around the fire to help us, we can find hope and light even in the darkest and saddest times. That night, so many years ago, tears came to my eyes, and a glimmer of joy came to my healing heart. Now, in those days, I was not a minister, so I couldn't preach about it. Back then, I was a singer-songwriter, and this is the sermon that I wrote on that solstice night so many years ago.
The sun is setting, it's on its way. It's another night and another day. The earth is turning, and I have to say, it's the longest night and the shortest day. Longest night of a winter's day. I've been moving all through this town. I've seen the houses all around. They're hung with lights up and down. The people fight the dark they found on the longest night and the shortest day. All our lives are dark and light, keeping faith within our sight. Spirit flame is a burning bright through the night. Take my hand, I feel the cold. Take my hand so we can hold together as the worlds unfold, our stories told. We are the angels, we're filled with song. When a new babe comes along, we are the shepherds who hear and see all of heaven's mystery. Deep into infinity, ancient days and future see. All our lives are dark and light, keeping faith within our sight. Spirit flame is a burning bright through the night. Take my hand, I feel the
we travel far, following a distant star. We are the wise ones who seek the truth, sensed within since we were youth, traveling both night and day. We're trying to find a lighted way on the longest night and the shortest day. All our lives are dark and light, keeping faith within our sights. Spirit flame is burning bright through the night. Take my hand, I feel the cold. Take my hand that we can hold. Together as the worlds unfold, our stories told. The sun is setting, it's on its way. It's another night and another day. The earth is turning, and I have to say, it's the longest night, shortest day.
Tomorrow, December 21st, will be the great conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn. It's going to happen just after sunset in the southwestern sky. Look between the moon and where the sun set, and you might be able to see it if their sky is clear. I've been watching them getting closer together the last few nights, and if it's not clear enough tomorrow night, maybe you'll see it another night after that. These two planets cross paths from our earthly view about every 20 years. But this time, they'll achieve their closest alignment since 1623, almost 400 years ago. And in fact, the last time this event was observable for most of the planet was 1226, almost 800 years ago. And the next ultra close conjunction won't occur until 2080. I bring this up today because some astronomers conjecture that the great conjunction that happened 2,000 years ago could be what was seen as the Star of David, announcing the birth of the infant Jesus in Bethlehem. Others say no, it was just simply an allegory. But as we end this service, I want us to remember that sometimes the stars, the planets, come together. Sometimes the sun is hidden from us, and sometimes it is close to us. As we end the service and extinguish our chalice, I want us to remember that we can keep the light of hope and faith aflame within our hearts. I invite us now to sing a song about the ancient custom of burning Yule fires. And I encourage everyone to plan to take in the wonder of the winter solstice this year. Come by the Edgewood Lane doorway tonight, 5:30 to 7, to say hello to Leah and pick up your special solstice ritual kit. And you can use it tonight or sometime soon. Or you can watch the sun setting or rising. You can honor the darkness, and you can take in the miracle of the stars in the sky and the planets' orbits meeting. This is a special time, this winter solstice. It's a time for stillness and for watching and for wonder.
In ancient days, the folk of old, when chilled with fright by winter's cold, did kindle up a great Yule fire with leaping flames in its great pyre. So to entice and wider run, a fiery course across the sky to warn them so they need not die. So we whose minds now sense a chill of danger in the evil will, the human conflict, hate, and strife which holds a menace over life, would kindle up a flame of love that we within our hearts may move in you.